Dear readers of the European Sting, there's one thing that drew my attention last week. The provocative announcement issued by the IMF, in which Christine Lagarde and her colleagues admit that they underestimated by 11% the effects of the strict austerity policy imposed in Greece. Wait a minute. Is the Catholic Church still selling indulgences to the wealthy sinners of the world? It seems that the IMF wants to bring back to life this religious stock market of the Middle Ages. Apparently, Mrs. Lagarde thinks that an announcement, describing how incapable and inexperienced her colleagues are to estimate the dreadful outcomes of extenuating austerity on the European economy, can wash all her sins away. Dear Christine, I'm afraid this is not the Middle Ages. Accidental, bad financial estimates that are responsible for the complete annihilation of European economies and nations cannot be forgiven with announcements and statements. Even if those dreadful miscalculations happened by accident or human cretinism, which is also in question here, given their horrible consequences, they absolutely need to be treated as crimes. Have you seen in any modern democracy any stupid or unlucky person that has killed someone not to stand at trial? This is exactly what is the case here. The IMF executives, that were watching SpongeBob while making macroeconomic forecast for the Greek economy, together with the people that called the IMF in Europe to be the pimp of the member states in trouble, need to stand a democratic and objective trial. For this 11% miscalculation is equivalent with a substantial amount of unemployment rise, suicides and numerous ruined lives in Greece. This constitutes an obscene crime and the culpable parties need to be judged for their crimes. So, even if Christine Lagarde sat in front of an exquisite Steinway piano, and started singing a la Elton John, what do I do to make you want me? What have I got to do to be heard? What do I say when it's all over? And sorry seems to be the hardest word. Even if she had better voice than this the rain of tomatoes and cabbages would be endless. Who brought the IMF and the rest of the nincompoops in the European Union in the first place? Wasn't the great architect of the Southern Rescue, Wolfgang Schäuble, one of the IMF solution pioneers? Isn't he the same guy that recently made statements in favor of a European Union without the IMF? Ladies and gentlemen, sanity seems to be a rare privilege nowadays for the leadership of Europe. Even insane people though are judged for their actions in modern democracies. No member state can be the guinea pig of no covert interests and powers. If the Troika bailout mechanism proves to be a parody, and people start asking sorry and sending flowers to the victims of the war, then the masterminds of this hoax need to give reason to each and every of the 500 million European citizens. There is no other acceptable solution in a democracy. Otherwise, let's all admit that the way the Union functions currently is not 100% democratic, and let's have curfews in Europe so that you can take your tanks for a ride. Am I too suspicious to believe that the Greek tragedy is not the only gaffe of the IMF? What about their bit on the rest of the pigs? Is it really something more than gambling on horses to them? Since we have seen their excellent performance, one would expect that more apologies will follow. The big question is though, how many apologies do we need to hear to get that the IMF interference in the European economy was a crime against the European idea? How many proofs do we need that the monolithic austerity policy was just another efficient German invention to take advantage of the European crisis? How many screaming voices in Brussels and beyond do we need to hear to understand that the so-called wise, that are supposed to have the absolute know-how, make fatal mistakes, one after the other, at the cost of other nations' lives? One thing is for sure, ladies and gentlemen, even if the culpables sing the whole discography of Elton John, they cannot soothe the pain of millions of people that literally killed with their horrible experimentations. The guilty parties need to stand in objective and democratic trial now. Apology not accepted. Until next week, join the hive.